Welcome in. We're live on SportsGrid with another edition of Pro Football Today. Kevin Walsh with Donnie Rightside on this Sunday morning as we get set for NFL action. And what a slate it's going to be, Donnie.
I cannot wait for these games. It's almost like you're sitting back saying to yourself, ooh, week number 3. Where did week number 1 and week number 2 go already? But here we're on week number 3. Big game starting off, and the one that we love to see, Kevin. It's in Philadelphia today, baby, with the Eagles and the Rams. But some other good spots, a lot of points maybe, injuries on the horizon. Come on now.
You mentioned Eagles-Rams, Donnie.
Yeah.
I think it's the biggest game at 1 o'clock. You could argue it's the biggest game of the week between two 2-0 teams who played last year in the divisional round. And I think both have a little bit to prove in this game. For Philadelphia, questions once again on their pass attack. Jalen Hurts has a high completion percentage, but a low yards per attempt. It's been odd to watch that passing game. For the Rams, they've been unbeatable, unless they're playing the Philadelphia Eagles, who have been able to run all over this football team, a vaunted defense that can't seem to slow down Saquon and the Birds. And the Rams, I think you could argue, Donnie, need this more because the NFC West looks like it'll be a real gauntlet this year.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. And also, you're right about this one thing. When you take a look at the Philadelphia Eagles and the Rams playing each other last year, Saquon Barkley went nuts in those two games, both the playoff game and the regular season game. Still not to get untracked just yet because that Eagles passing game, Kevin, is basically saying, we can't get open downfield, so everybody's going to crash the box here, and it's 9 in the box, and Saquon Barkley can't run. I think things open up in Philadelphia. They're two good defenses, don't get me wrong, but the offensive structure where maybe the Eagles are a little bit vulnerable in that cornerback number 2 position, and also at the same time you can feed in and say, oh, Puka Nacua is that number 1. He'll still give Quinyon Mitchell a little bit of issues. But I always look at the Eagles side of it. They just don't lose football games. Start to finish with Jalen Hurts, he just doesn't lose. I think Kevin, 18 straight games that he start and finished where the Eagles won the football game. It's unbelievable to think about. But today's one of those games where every time you get the Philadelphia Eagles down, they can't pass. And Jalen Hurts, for some reason, is getting flack. They open that offense up. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith today finally get untracked.
I'll add to it, Donnie. The Eagles have not lost a game that Hurts and A.J. finished. 2023.
Crazy.
2023 is when you would have to go back to find that. Now, Philly moved to 2-0. It meant the Kansas City Chiefs were going to go down to 0-2. And they play in the lone 0-2 versus 0-2 game on Sunday Night Football against the New York Giants, where both teams have to be incredibly frustrated by these starts. Look, not that the G-men, had Super Bowl aspirations, DRS, but they had a great opportunity to knock off the Dallas Cowboys. Russ turns the clock back, throws for 450, but a critical interception in overtime sees the Giants now in a tough spot here. People have talked about the schedule on full display when you look at this number. But, man, for Kansas City, a gotta have it supreme.
It is, but also, what do you got to have today? It's Patrick Mahomes leading them in rushing again, maybe throwing 2 touchdown passes. Now, the defense has always been good over Steve Spagnuolo. Quite frankly, was good last week against the Eagles. You could say, hey, if they hit one of those deep shots here and Patrick Mahomes was on point, they'd probably beat the Eagles, but they didn't, and they're 0-2. Now, the one thing, understand this. Dallas's defense last week against, the New Giants, that's going to be completely different for today when you look at Kansas City. But understand this, too. Kansas City's offense, Kevin, where are the points coming from? Kansas City's got to win. Is Travis Kelce going to turn the clock back, as you like to say, 5 years and have, 9 catches for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns? Is Thornton on the outside going to be the go-to guy? Who's the go-to guy outside of Patrick Mahomes? If I'm betting this game, I'm certainly not betting the Kansas City Chiefs to cover this point spread. But you know what I probably would bet on? Patrick Mahomes rushing yards again. That's the only thing that has worked, Kevin, in the first 2 weeks of the season is Patrick Mahomes' legs.
It has been the best aspect of their offense, Donnie. But I think it is fair to say, just somewhat similar to last year, if we're all in agreement he's the best quarterback in the world, how about you score 24 points? Is that really too much to ask? How about with 4 minutes left in a game, have over 150 passing yards? I don't think that is too much to ask from Pat Mahomes. We'll find out if that is too lofty a price, especially when backups get the job done, like Jake Browning last week, and a number of backups will be asked here on this Sunday. Browning is going to go eye-to-eye with Carson Wentz, who fills in for J.J. McCarthy. Tyrod Taylor steps up and in for Justin Fields over in Tampa Bay. And maybe most importantly, Donnie, because of the caliber of quarterback being replaced, and people were unsure about this throughout the week, Marcus Mariota in for Jaden Daniels with the matchup against the Vegas Raiders in Washington.
Yeah, a lot of backups here getting a lot of support from their teams, but also understand this. Like, you're taking a look at Carson Wentz, who's been around the block, but Jake Browning, I think, is the better quarterback in that game, and they should be able to move the football against the Minnesota Vikings. The funny thing about the New York Jets is the way you look at it, you say, oh, come on now. Like, Tyrod Taylor's your quarterback. Is he maybe an upgrade, at least just for today, over Justin Fields? I remember betting Chicago Bears games just a few years ago where, Mitchell Trubisky would get hurt and Chase Daniel come like, now we got a shot, baby. Love it. Like, are you kidding me? Like, we're looking at the backup quarterback better than the starter, but just for a one game where your team can rise up and sort of rally around you, maybe it is the New York Jets here that can focus on the ground game and just be competent. The one thing you don't see out of Justin Fields last week, Kevin, 3 completions through basically 3 quarters of that football game, and so many, it wasn't like, well, he's under duress. Yes, he was, but there was also many times where a 7-yard out, a 5-yard out, a 6-yard crossing route. Couldn't even hit the target just to move the sticks. You'll be able to do that with Tyrod Taylor today. Not saying they can beat Tampa Bay, but I think you're going to get a more honest effort and a better-looking offense today, as crazy as it sounds, from your backup quarterback.
I think for Justin Fields, Donnie, much higher ceiling than Tyrod, much lower floor than Tyrod, and I think that's what you're getting to there. One AFC East team, though, who all of a sudden might be calling for their backup quarterback, though careful what you wish for, is the Miami Dolphins. Because Tua Tagovailoa, despite at one point leading this league in passing yards and getting paid like a superstar quarterback, is now throwing not just back-breaking interceptions, but head-scratching ones as well. On Thursday night, the Dolphins did cover a 12.5 point spread, thank you very much, but still a double-digit loss to the Buffalo Bills, DRS. What's the outlook for you on the Miami Dolphins now sitting 0-3?
Yeah, it's over. I mean, everybody knows it's over at this point. Also understand this. Like, you take a look at Tua Tagovailoa. I don't know, coming into the NFL, if we had higher expectations, maybe a little bit more of an athlete here. And I'm not getting around that he can't play the quarterback position. But there must be a disconnect going on because we have an offensive guru. You have 2 superstar wide receivers, a solid running game, and for some reason you just can't stop throwing interceptions at the worst time. And understand this. Like 2 years ago, me viewing Tua on the field, I'm like, you know what? I like the arm here. I like the offense. Do I find myself now looking like his arm looks like a little bit more of a pop gun arm at this point? Like, where's the depot? Like, even the week previous before against the New England Patriots, hey, Tyreek had a 50-yard catch. That was a punt thrown up in the air that he had to come back and catch that. It wasn't as like he hit him in stride. I'm worried about that team overall just from a psychology standpoint because when you're not winning football games and the players understand that, oh, this coach won't be here much longer, let's see what you get out of these guys motivationally the rest of the way, Kevin. I don't think it's very good.
So they got... I would say, though, Donnie, the backs were absolutely... If they would have lost by 24...
They got a moral victory. They got a moral victory, even though they're 0-3.
I think Mike McDaniel got a personal victory.
Yeah, he did get fired on the tarmac. Like, okay, I can go back. Yeah.
This has been my take on the Dolphins. I think you'll agree. The more they lose, Tyreek Hill becomes the most important player in football. Because Tyreek Hill getting traded becomes likelier and likelier.
Yeah.
And, Don, he's not going to get traded to the Cleveland Browns.
Correct.
This is a guy who's going to shift Super Bowl markets if he is dealt. Yeah. And maybe the team they just lost to, because if you're the Buffalo Bills or the Ravens or the Chargers, Donnie, you cannot just let Tyreek walk back to Kansas City, can you?
Reunited, and it feels so good. Maybe he does need to be back in Kansas City because, to be honest, right now, and again, Kansas City is going to get help back at the wide receiver position, but if there's one team that's like, hey, we could use a big play threat, and we used to dominate. Hello, Kansas City. He'd fit right back in that offense, but you're right about that. He's going to start kicking it up a little bit in practice. They go 0-4, 0-5. He's going to run out. They'll make accommodations for him to get out. And you're right. One team that's looking for a wide receiver is going to get a dynamic, motivated wide receiver.
I thought he looked awesome in that game, quite frankly,
in
against
that tiny
the Bills.
Jersey. Yeah.
We'll see what the future holds. But speaking of the Chiefs, they got to have it. Tonight in MetLife, we break that game down next. We're with you right here on SportsGrid on Pro Football Today.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
It was nice to see that even though they couldn't follow the same blueprint as last season or just the way that everyone thought their offense was going to run this year, Josh Jacobs struggled, and Jordan Love stepped up. And if you're a Packer fan, that's what you were hoping to see, is that in the moments where you can't rely on the run, can the quarterback that you invested a lot of money into, now draft capital, putting weapons around him, rise to the occasion, and he did.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
I pitched today. It's like 5 in the morning. We hammer it. He tells everyone, listen, I'm telling you guys, Esteban Loaiza is in no condition to pitch tonight. We all hammer it. We bet against the Toronto Blue Jays. We even went to the game, Scott, even. Esteban Loaiza, word of no lie, bro. He threw 8 innings, a one-hit ball.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
There's a little bit of a kerfluffle earlier today when there's an exception taken to a putt that wasn't given, and just the reactions were pretty unilateral from both sides of hey, that's not behavior that we're going to tolerate at this type of competition.
Can you talk to me about kerfluffle again? Can you run that word back? I've never heard that word before.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Morning, and at Sunday night you will watch the one game here on this slate that features a pair of 0-2 teams. Bright spot, Giants fans, Chiefs fans, those who are backing these teams in the futures market. Not all hope is lost. 0-2 teams rarely make the playoffs, but rarely is the operative word. One of these teams that is 0-2 right now, maybe two, will make the playoffs. The reality, Donnie, is everybody expects it to be the Kansas City Chiefs. I'll say people have been talking about Mahomes hasn't lost 3 straight games in his career as a reason to bet the Chiefs last week because they were adding the Super Bowl. I hate stuff like that, okay? It's a brand new season. He's not lost 3 straight games. He lost the Super Bowl. He's lost 2 straight. He has never lost 3 straight in a regular season spot. And, Donnie, I would be stunned if he were to lose tonight's game against the New York Giants. You know me.
Yeah.
I don't rush to lay points with the Kansas City Chiefs. I laid the 5.5 with KC tonight. I think they win this game by double digits, actually.
I don't know. And that's where we're going with. But I hear what you're saying. Let's just say they go 0-3. And also the advent of the, the 17th game compared to the 16th game. That's big on 0-2 and 0-3. Gives you a little bit extra leeway. But understand this on the Chiefs. The reason why we don't want to give up on the Chiefs is because it's Andy Reid and it's Patrick Mahomes, and they're going to be healthy. And, hey, the cavalry's coming back in a couple weeks at the wide receiver position, which is where they really need it. They have a very good defense. They have a very good quarterback, a very good head coach. They can sort of stem that tide. But I don't have the same confidence as you tonight, Kevin, with the Kansas City Chiefs, because it takes 2 to tango. Yes, the Giants' defense is really bad, but also at the same time, the Chiefs' offense is really bad. Where's their explosive plays? If you have to go, it used to be in the past, and I don't mean past, like Tyreek Hill passed. 3 plays, 79 yards, and a touchdown. Nobody's beating the Chiefs. You get up 21-0 on the Chiefs, blink of an eye, we'll strike back on the next 3 drives and take a total of 5 minutes off the clock, and we're tied up here. They can't do that anymore. It's Mahomes running around. It's a running game that's basically not on track. It's 2 bad offensive tackles. It's an offensive line trying to gel. And also, Tyquan Thornton is your wide receiver at this point. Hey, Hollywood Brown, step up. Oh, I can't step up in big moments here. Now, granted, last week the Philadelphia Eagles, very good defense. The Giants' defense, very bad. So you should put 2 and 2 together and say the Chiefs will move the football. I don't believe that, though. I honestly don't. If you said, Donnie, free bet, who's going to win money line? Of course I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs. But I look at so many more issues where now I'm saying, wait a second. If the Giants can put up points, there's no guarantee that the Chiefs can put up points. And what I mean by that is 20-14. That's basically a cover. 20-17. That's basically a cover again for the New York Giants. That's what I'm looking at.
So it's a double-edged sword a little bit here, Donnie. And I'll start, though, on the Kansas City side of it. Now, this will be the 5th time with Mahomes. They've played a regular season game where they'd lost the prior 2. They're not just 4-0 in those spots. They've won every single one of them by double digits. In 2023 against New England, they laid between 8.5, 9.5, maybe a 10. They won by 10. There was one time they actually played Philly after losing 2 in a row. They won 42-30 in Philadelphia. Then there's a couple of divisional games earlier in his career. They won those by a combined 65-9. And he actually, that one of those, I think, was the kneecap sneak game, which is why he never sneaks the ball anymore. And they still won by that much. Everyone talks about what the Chiefs don't have. Let's focus for this. They have Patrick Mahomes, okay?
They do.
Tyquan Thornton now, right? Because he caught the big deep shot. Okay. So what's he good at? Running down the field. Great. Hollywood Brown, what was he brought in? To run little, dig routes across? No. He's supposed to run down the field. I think Andy Reid, Donnie, needs to actually open it up. Over the course of this game, win on aggregate. I don't care if Mahomes completes 55% of his passes. I need his yards per attempt to stop being so low. Hit the deep shots. Donnie, they're there at the end of every single one of these games when they have no choice but to run down the field and open it up. Open it up from the word go. And maybe you don't believe in that.
No.
But the New York Giants have Russell Wilson coming off of a game where he threw for 450 yards and they scored 37 points. You think that happens again?
No.
Last year, Russ threw for 400 against Cincinnati. Donnie, the next 2 weeks combined, he threw for 286.
Yeah.
This is a spot, to me, where the Chiefs' defense, who I thought played pretty well against Philadelphia, isn't being given enough credit. I've seen them luck box cover these games. I think they could ugly cover and win it by 7. But I actually think there's an opportunity for the offense here to handle business and win this game. I know this is going to sound outlandish, but something closer to like 31-17.
Really? See, I would almost the opposite. Like, I look at the total of this game. Let's call it 41.5, the opening number, 45 today on a Sunday. I look the opposite because wins are the only thing today that's needed for the Kansas City Chiefs. There's going to be a time for they get on track, Kevin. I do believe they will. When they get, Rashee Rice back and in a couple weeks Xavier Worthy, I think they're going to be just fine, and maybe they make a move for another wide receiver.
Yeah.
But right now I look at it, all hands on deck. Where's their strength right now? It's Patrick Mahomes and it's the defense. Hey, Patrick, move the football. The Giants aren't a very good team. That was a mirage list. We're like, hey, did you see all those yards they can throw for? Yeah, you can do that sometimes on one of those days where you have that back-and-forth opponent. We always talk about the running mate, and Dallas was a perfect running mate. But let's go back to week number 1. They're on the road at that point. And again, they're at home today, so it is a little bit of an advantage. They didn't do anything against Washington. Like, if I look at Andy Reid and say, hey, Steve, you got me covered today. Can you hold them to 14, 17 points here? We'll do just enough to win this football game, because I do think it would be great if they scored 35 points in a runaway. Deep breath, exhale, we're going to be just fine. But if they win 17-16, I think they're just as happy as that point, Kevin. Just doing up. I don't want to see them open it up to say, the only thing the Giants do well is they have a good pass rush. Our offensive line isn't good, and we're running 7-step drops here to try to get deep. I don't think that's the game plan.
So it's interesting because I absolutely agree that Andy Reid is not worried about winning by margin.
Yeah.
I just think the way this team needs to attack almost lends itself to that. Like, everybody's in agreement right now, the running back situation's a nightmare. Pacheco's clearly not the same guy. Kareem Hunt's more of a fullback than a pure running back. Okay, right? So then stop running it on 2nd and 10. Like, if Andy Reid is as good as we all believe he is, and I believe he is, I think the clear adjustment is to actually open it up. Stop playing close to the vest. Stop. Again, this is all the Chiefs would do last year, Donnie, right? 1st and 10 is 2nd and 6, is 3 and 2, is 1st and 10. But they're not as clean this year. And it's leading to 3 and outs and punts and all the. Just go down the field. If Patrick, again, like, is Mahomes not Mahomes? Like, what are we doing here?
But he's, even when we talk about, like, the Kansas City Chiefs offense, it was so maddening. Ooh, 7-0 Chiefs. We're good till the other team gets 6.
I mean, the stall outs in the red zone. Yes, absolutely. But listen, I also think, again, some of this is me willing to bet on Mahomes. He hears the noise, right? I mean,
taking him on the ground. I'm taking him on the ground again.
And I don't mind it, Nani. But again, like, right now, you ask people to rank the best quarterbacks in football. I think the majority of lists won't have Mahomes at the top.
Really?
I think most lists would put either Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson at the top of those lists there. I think it's a step-up spot for him. We'll talk more about Mahomes' props in this game. Also the running back rooms, though, including an interesting option for the Giants. If you're in the Super Bowl market, if you're in the futures market, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is heavily connected to the Kansas City Chiefs. I am sure it would be Tyreek's first place if he could pick to go back to. At least I would think it would be. And the Chiefs have a need, and the Chiefs are interested, and they're not worried about any of his other question marks.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
51-0, Donnie.
Yeah.
Those numbers don't lie. Georgia, every time they rush for over 200 yards, that's dating back from 2017 against FCS and FBS opponents. They don't lose. The 2 years that they won back-to-back national championships, year one, they rushed for over 208 times. Year two, when they beat TCU, that year they rushed for over 206 times.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look at the weather, try to look for some anytime touchdowns or maybe some props that you really feel confident about. But it's always the time for urgency, especially for a team like the New York Giants. I think that defense is something that can give Giants fans hope. And then if you get Dart under center, it's hope. And then if you can get Scottaboo out there and the whole building's going boo, it's hope. And as we know, hope works.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
With you right here on SportsGrid, Donnie, the options here in the props market for this game, I think considering your breakdown, probably don't jump out to you too much. Under game, maybe Mahomes runs. I'm curious what you at least make of the two running back rooms, and maybe more interestingly, the Giants one, where Cam Scottaboo and Mike, I mean, it was actually because Cam Scottaboo last year, everyone fell in love, right, during the college football playoff run.
Me too.
And you start to ask yourself, I mean, if Genty's going round one, I mean, Scottaboo can't be far behind. And then, he goes, round 4 or 5. But you wondered, Tyrone Tracy is not some veteran running back. He's a year 2 back, right? You would think he'd be able to hold serve. Might have lost his job within 2 weeks. Last week, Tracy only 5 carries for 15 yards. Scottaboo had 11 for 45 and the touchdown. I know that the Chiefs are very, very good against the run, Donnie, but you look at the props market here. Cam Scottaboo at 37.5 is seemingly lead dog. Tyrone Tracy, 25.5 in the market.
No, and you know what? This is the way to play it for me. Like, if my game script is not we're going to get 50 points, you're looking at the running back position where teams will be happy to say 1st and 10, 2nd and 7, 3rd and 1, we're not going deep. We're going to get a first down by getting 2 yards. I don't like Scottaboo because I don't have enough on him yet, Kevin. Now, the one thing we do know is he can be dynamic, and you're right about it. Tyrone Tracy just hasn't provided. Remember what about the Giants fans last year? It's not Saquon. We just replaced him with Tyrone Tracy, a late-round draft pick at this point. Certainly hasn't worked out, but he has had the talent. I don't even look at the Giants' room because I don't know. I don't want to go against, let's just say, a very good defense in Kansas City with a running back room I don't know about. What happens if Tracy does get 15 carries today and Scottaboo's the third down back and catches passes and, oh, no, I lost it, and maybe Scottaboo gets the ball on the goal line. But I do look at Kareem Hunt, 29.5 yards, Kevin. And it's one of those where you expect Isaiah Pacheco to come back and rescue that team and say, I'm the I'm the first string running back on this team the way I've always been. Been in the Super Bowls, performed in big spots. Give me that football. But doesn't always feel like Kareem Hunt. Like, he's got 29.5 yards. If I told you, Kevin, 7 carries for Kareem Hunt today, he's over that number. Like, if all the running back props for me in this game of just looking at the rushing itself, it's Kareem Hunt for me.
It's funny. I was hoping you wouldn't go there because I was hoping I could avoid saying this. I'm wildly interested in Pacheco. Like, to the moon. Because I like Kansas City. And because I know they do enjoy running the football, I think that they are more likely to try to get Pacheco going. And I guess it's more likely Pacheco gets going than Hunt in a big way. Where there's Pacheco running a couple of 1-yard touchdowns, 2+, right? Do they, Donnie, get up big and instead of Pacheco having 11.5 carries, does he finish this game with like 18, 19 carries? Find the alt markets there. I'm a little bit curious. Now, because we mentioned Scottaboo, I do want to just, go over to the rookie running backs for just a little bit because there's a lot of hype around these rookies, none more so than Ashton Genty. And you're someone who, when you hear stuff, you're like, they just told you what's going to happen. Let's not overlook this.
Correct.
Ashton Genty on a Monday night did not get the football a lot. Ashton Genty, and I think nobody was bothered, right? Yeah. He goes, I don't think you draft me at 6 and not give me more touches, right? Like, I want to impact winning. And Pete Carroll came over the top of, we probably need to get him 8, 9 more touches a game. What do you think of Genty in a big spot for this Raiders team to avoid going, under the 500 marker with playing a backup quarterback in Washington's Marcus Mariota?
And again, sometimes you can't believe what coaches are telling you, right? Because they're not going to give you the game script here.
Yeah.
But sometimes we could just factor in Kevin and say, well, what makes the most sense? And you hit the nail on the head. You didn't draft a kid in the top 10 other than, like, we still have to, like, Bijan Robinson. Like, no, what's going on here? Like, give the guy the football.
Well,
but also, you're on the road here. You're struggling on offense. What's the best way to help your quarterback out, Kevin? Let's get a good running game together because the kid is talented. It's not a 7th-round pick that we found on the scrap heap. Let's give him some burn. You know the type of talent he has, and you know the defense on the opposite side, Kevin, is going to be built to try to slow him down. Play-action passes open up. So that's one where I look and say the coach isn't lying this week. Yeah. And if there was a way to sort of bet that to get him untracked, like, I don't know if you bet, like, first half yardage for him, because nobody's going to tell, we need to get him more carries. Like, of course, we wanted to get more carries in the fourth quarter when we were down 7 points. Like, no, that means right off the bat, that first drive, let's just say they score. It's an 8-play drive. He's getting 4 carries of those 8 plays, Kevin. I do want to believe it.
The only reason Genty's not on my card is the problem for him this season has not only been touches. They can't block right now up front for the Raiders, and that's been a really tough start to the season. Just a almost running back rookie roundup. I wouldn't trust Amarian Hampton too much today because he fumbled, and Harbaugh, at some point Hampton will be the guy.
Yeah.
But he's not going to be too pleased with that, and Najee, is gaining his vision back week by week. Travion Henderson missed out on a big week because he basically missed a couple of blocks, and they gave it to Ramondre Stevenson. Henderson looks good, but it's tough to tell how that's going to shift. I would just also keep eyes on Kyle Monangai. DeAndre Swift is not that good and injured. There's a ton of points expected in that game
you want one today too?
Go ahead.
Toot, toot. Bye, shout, toot. Now, I'm telling you right now, that offense is ready to go. Don't get me started being a Jacksonville fan right now. Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
I like what you're bringing to
DRS.
We go to Eagles-Rams. We're with you right here. It's Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. If you're in the Super Bowl market, if you're in the futures market, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is heavily connected to the Kansas City Chiefs. I am sure it would be Tyreek's first place if he could pick to go back to. At least I would think it would be. And the Chiefs have a need, and the Chiefs are interested, and they're not worried about any of his other question marks.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
51-0, Donnie.
Yeah.
Those numbers don't lie. Georgia, every time they rush for over 200 yards, that's dating back from 2017 against FCS and FBS opponents. They don't lose. The 2 years that they won back-to-back national championships, year one, they rushed for over 208 times. Year two, when they beat TCU, that year they rushed for over 206 times.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look at the weather, try to look for some anytime touchdowns or maybe some props that you really feel confident about. But it's always the time for urgency, especially for a team like the New York Giants. I think that defense is something that can give Giants fans hope. And then if you get Dart under center, it's hope. And then if you can get Scatterboo out there and the whole building's going boo, it's hope. And as we know, hope works.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Eagles-Rams is a huge game in the NFC. Two teams looking to show why they belong at the top. And you would think to some degree, Eagles wouldn't need to show that, but they aren't even at the top of the NFC odds anymore. The Packers have been pushed out in front. I understand they've looked good through 2 weeks, but my, oh my, what?
Just keep feeding the fodder.
I don't know, man. Don, let's just start that price-wise.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Do you think Green Bay should be at the top of this market?
No. I understand that you got the shiny new toy, Micah Parsons. It makes your defense much better. They looked electric in week number 1 versus a very high-flying Detroit team that we saw in week number 2 can still put up some points. But also understand this. You're looking around the NFL and saying to yourself, all right, well, who else is in the NFC? Oh, the Eagles, yeah, don't worry about them. All they do is win football games.
Yeah.
All they do is beat the Green Bay Packers. Now, they're going to have a matchup against them this year, but it's so much of that what the public sees early in the expectations. Yeah, they're high. Well, you're telling me right now in a win-all type game, both teams come in healthy on a neutral site like the Super Bowl, which they can't play. I'm just using this.
I got you.
The Eagles are a favorite.
I agree.
The Eagles are a favorite.
One of the reasons that I didn't bet Philly again for the Super Bowl is I do think that there is a
schedule's ridiculous.
But I also think there's a repeater tax, right? You're not just betting Philly to win the Super Bowl this year. It would be going back to back. It's a very very difficult thing to do. But I think that there are some questions that come with Green Bay when the postseason begins with LaFleur and Love. I'm not really surprised by the number. I'm sure there are a team like the Rams though, right? Thinks, okay, hold on. If Green Bay can get in front of them, we got to be a little bit closer. Again, the Rams are, it's the old Bucs Brady Super Bowl where everybody man, the Commanders put the fear of God in that team.
Exactly.
It's like, well, did they? The Rams, people are like, if that game was 5 minutes longer, the Rams would have won.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I just don't know what game
if
these
it didn't
people
snow,
watched.
it'd be 45-3 Eagles. So what do you, come on. What are we even talking about?
For the Rams, though, Donnie, look, they've been winning very consistently, except for when they play the Eagles. Their defense has been very good, except for when they play the Eagles. I think this is a proven spot for the Rams, not the other way around. This is a 3.5-point number here that's moved in favor of the Rams, opened at 4.5. Are you betting this game? How are you betting this game? Talk to me.
If we're looking at the total, the 44.5, I'm going to get that in just a second because that's the way I'll be betting it. But the 3.5, I do agree with at this point because the Eagles haven't shown us right now we're going to be in runaway and hide mode just yet. Jalen Hurts is a very good quarterback, and quite frankly, he doesn't get enough grace, I should say, for saying, I win football games. What would you rather? We go play Mahomes, 41-40, Hurts, 375, 4 touchdowns, they lost. Boy, that guy's good. Or no, hey, you know what? I'm going to play within myself. I'm not going to turn the football over. I'm going to play within the game script here, and we're just going to win. Doesn't matter who gets the accolades. But looking at this game today, I do think the Eagles have an advantage. It's nice weather in Philadelphia. It's a 1 o'clock game, which is usually a detriment sometimes to those West Coast teams just on the body clock itself. But I always look and say, the Eagles feed off of this. You only won last week because of the tush push, which is the most insane thing I've ever heard, which was the national media perspective. Jalen Hurts has been running commercials since the Super Bowl. You doubt me all this time, and yet I'm entering into the season where, and I use it up until that game on Thursday night. Josh Allen doesn't throw a touchdown pass. Psh, what a win. What a win by Buffalo. You have that with Jalen Hurts, something's wrong, and he's just hanging on for the ride because the team is so talented. But for me, from a side perspective, there's no way, Kevin, and we keep it to the common elements here. I think the Eagles win, but I don't think they can cover. It's 3.5. Are you kidding me at this point right now? So for me, I do think the Eagles win. Do I love taking them at 3.5? No. But I see where the public is coming from saying, we'll take the 3.5, but is anybody saying, well, I think the Eagles win and they don't cover? Ludicrous.
I thought we were actually going to get to a situation, Donnie, where this would be a little bit like Packers Commanders last Thursday, where all of a sudden it got down to a flat 3, and I played Green Bay at that point in time, and I would have played Philly down to if they got down to just the field goal.
Because you're just saying to win the game at that point, and you don't lose.
At that point, that number would have been too good to pass up on. Now, when this opened up at 4.5, I thought the Rams were plenty fine bet at 4.5, and in fact, I was like, I hope it gets under 4.5 because then I won't bother with the spread, and that's obviously exactly what happened here. The Rams, they're going to be challenged on both sides of the ball. What is fair is wondering how Philly will present challenges to their defense.
Correct.
Will it be the Saquon show? Will the offense start to open it up a little bit more as through the air? Well, if it's A, it won't be B. And last year, they played twice, and it was A
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley in the first one, a career-high 255 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, chipped in 47 through the air to get you a 300-plus total yard game. And then in the divisional round, where the Rams are like, we got to stop this guy, they opened the game, by the way, giving up a 40-yard rushing touchdown to Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
And then Saquon went for 205 and 2 touchdowns. How are you expecting Philly to attack this Rams defense?
I think they're going to be aggressive today. And the reason I say that is, and Saquon's been talking about it already this season, you would be a fool to not show up and put 9 in the box. Because if you show up and put 8 and 7 in the box, we're going to murder you. Like, we're not going to have to throw the football. I'm going to get 22 carries for 176 yards and 2 touchdowns by the half. But the way I would play this, because understand this too, everybody hears it.
Yep.
Hey, the offense has exploded. What's wrong with the wide receivers? They're really good. Are they open? Is it Jalen's fault? Remove that from the equation. Let's just say the Rams come into this game and say, you're not running the football on us. Yeah. You look at A.J. Brown in this game, roughly 67.5 is his receiving yards. Devontae Smith is 49.5. I don't even look at that and say, I love both of those overs. But you know what I do like? The over receptions for A.J. Brown and also Devontae Smith. And I'm not talking about over 4.5, 5.5. I'm talking about the actual catch itself, 24.5, 25.5 yards. Because if the theory is we're going to take some deep shots in this game and you're going to have 9-man boxes, you don't want A.J. Brown and you don't want Devontae Smith one-on-one with your cornerbacks. I don't care how good they are. Yeah. That's the way I play. You saw last week, right? Hey, not a lot from the wide receivers. You had a nice deep shot there, which set up that 1st and goal for Devontae Smith early in that game, which was basically a jump ball. Yeah. You're going to get that today. So if I'm playing the Philadelphia Eagles, I do think they score points, both of these teams. But from an Eagles perspective, I actually think Saquon Barkley under 92.5 would be my wager. I think he scores a touchdown today, but I also think the longest catch for A.J. Brown and also Devontae Smith make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I hear you. I was almost wondering if our Jalen Hurts' first half passing yard number made sense, Don, because what if they are up, right? The number that I settled on, though, because I, like you and I think like all the people out there, it's figuring out how do you bet this team. Jalen Hurts is down to a 192.5 passing number. A.J. Brown's number came down right into the 60s. So this is now, come on, Fields like 140s. That's at points there in Chicago. But there was a number that kind of stood out to me, Donnie. It's a number we talked about all the time last year.
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley's longest rush, 18.5. Saquon Barkley last year, I think in the regular season, had 17 runs of 20 or more yards.
Yeah.
But more importantly, never had back-to-back games without a 20-yard rush. He hasn't had one yet this season.
Yeah.
So to me, while I know that, again, that'll be a lot of the Rams' focus, Donnie, we talk about bounce backs, buy lows, it all comes together. Saquon Barkley with this team can only be stopped from having a 20-plus yard run so many games in a row.
Yeah.
I'm betting Barkley over the long rush.
Look, it makes some sense because it's only one, and you're never out of it here. Hey, he had 11 carries. As long as he's going to 7 yards, you're only 1 carry away from busting that through, and we know the home run hitting ability. And also, too, when you have a 9-man stacked box, Kevin, you can shut running backs down. But the same way we talk about some of those 4th and 1s, just watch college football on a 4th and 1. Whoa, 57-yard touchdown. You get by one guy, you're gone, and nobody's catching him at this point. But from my angle on both of these teams, I don't think we are going to get one of those, let's feel them out in the first quarter.
Okay.
These two teams are going toe-to-toe with each other, and also aggressiveness. You get to the 50-yard line and it's 4th and 2. Nobody's punting in this football game. You're trusting your offense on both sides. So when I look at the total itself, I think it goes over. I don't think Saquon Barkley is going to have the success today by getting 25 carries. If he does, he's going to get 100 yards, 4 yards per carry. But I just look at the Philadelphia Eagles going like, okay, you're going to give us the passing options. We have wide receivers. And let's not forget, Dallas Goedert, who the Eagles tried to somehow cut and just get rid of in the offseason, he wasn't there last week. That was apparent. He's back and healthy this week. Yeah. Everything opens up in the passing game now. So I think passing is the option for me for the Eagles as opposed to Saquon.
I'll add this quickly on the other side of the field, but Puka Nacua, remember when Cooper Kupp was doing the thing?
Yes.
I was like, oh, they can't set the number high enough. That's pretty much Puka Nacua.
It is.
It's pretty much 100 yards every single week or 90-plus at the minimum there. He didn't have 100 last week. Puka Nacua has a real chance at Offensive Player of the Year this year. I will say that I think he's very, very live in that race. I've not re-entered that market, but he is certainly someone I will be keeping an eye on, undoubtedly.
Yeah,
Donnie expecting some points from this game. Our next game is the highest total on this slate. And
fireworks.
That feels derogatory. That doesn't feel like a compliment. It's the Dallas Cowboys and the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams versus Dak Prescott. We break it down next. if you're in the Super Bowl market, if you're in the futures market, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is heavily connected to the Kansas City Chiefs. I am sure it would be Tyreek's first place if he could pick to go back to. At least I would think it would be. And the Chiefs have a need, and the Chiefs are interested, and they're not worried about any of his other question marks.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
51-0, Donnie.
Yeah.
Those numbers don't lie. Georgia, every time they rush for over 200 yards, that's dating back from 2017 against FCS and FBS opponents. They don't lose. The 2 years that they won back-to-back national championships, year one, they rushed for over 208 times. Year two, when they beat TCU, that year they rushed for over 206 times.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look at the weather, try to look for some anytime touchdowns or maybe some props that you really feel confident about. But it's always the time for urgency, especially for a team like the New York Giants. I think that defense is something that can give Giants fans hope. And then if you get Dart under center, it's hope. And then if you can get Scatterboo out there and the whole building's going boo, it's hope. And as we know, hope works.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're making some moves here, folks. There's some line movement out there, by the way, DRS in a couple of games that's noteworthy. I want to bring this up just quickly. The Packers in one spot down to a -7 in their game with the Cleveland Browns. That is good enough for me.
Yeah.
We'll get into that game a little bit more. We'll talk, though, about an NFC North team reverse of the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay, expectations, shattering the ceiling. Oh, my gosh, wow, amazing. The Bears. The Bears. Here's the incredible thing about the Bears.
Yep.
The talk is the offense, and it should be because Caleb Williams won a Heisman Trophy when first overall they brought in Ben Johnson. But when you see this total of 50.5, you're reminded through 2 weeks, the biggest concern for this team as it pertains to winning, making the playoffs, win totals, is a defense that gave up 52 last week to the Detroit Lions. Donnie, we can get into the quarterbacks of this, the coaches of this, but how are you attacking, I think, one of the most fascinating games we've seen this season?
And attacking it certainly with an over. And sometimes I look at this and say, why is it only 50.5? Like, you see the way these two teams are playing defense and also the capabilities of their offense. Understand this. You look at the Dallas Cowboys last week. They probably should have lost that game, but the Giants' defense was so bad, they couldn't get any simple stops in their game against the Cowboys. I like what I see. And we talk about this every year. Dak Prescott's healthy. CeeDee Lamb is healthy. The offense is going to move regardless of who they're playing.
Yeah.
And you see that. But also from a Chicago spot, I thought they were in such a bad spot last week. The fact that the Detroit Lions, after week number 1, played the Packers, who were a very good team on the road, you knew that was a great bounce-back spot, and you knew they were going to put up numbers. Did we think they put up 50? Probably not. But if I go toe-to-toe, Caleb Williams is at the point now where Ben Johnson's gone, I need to see something from you, kid. And sometimes you talk about like Arch Manning in college. He had a layup yesterday, but he said, you know what, Kevin? You got to put him in the right spot. 5 total touchdowns, 3 touchdown passes, 2 on the ground. I'm not saying like Caleb can mirror that, no. But the expectations, if Caleb comes into this game against the Dallas Cowboys defense, 224, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, what are we doing? What's the offense been? Like, this isn't what we saw, the super aggressive offense that we had for Detroit. And also from a Dallas perspective, you watched that tape last week. You threw it all over the Giants, and now you're getting a team that's like, they couldn't even get probably a 3rd down stop, let alone get the 4th down last week against the Detroit Lions on that defense. I expect Dallas to be licking their chops at the wide receiver position, but also at the same time. This is one of those games where Chicago's 0-2. Ben Johnson's your head coach. What's he saying already? This team doesn't even want to practice right now like champions. That needs to get through to them where they're going to be elevated. I don't think many stops are in order today, and I would be shocked, Kevin, if we don't get tons of touchdown passes and over 50 points.
I will say, you know how a lot of the books now, Don, are doing like the first quarter, first half refunds? When Can I get a refund on any Bears-related futures because the secondary is in shambles? Like Jalen Johnson went from like out week 1 to out week 2 to I don't know if we'll see him
I saw Doc's tweet, which we're gonna have a little bit later on the show. Basically, that's really rare that you get groin surgery now and your season's over. Like something isn't right in Chicago.
Yeah, it's a very, very odd one, and again, it's why the Bears living up to full expectations does not seem likely. With that said, Donnie, me not betting the Bears in this game is cowardly because I like the Bears in this game. I like the Bears more than Dallas coming into this season. The Dallas here. If we did like an AP poll in the NFL, you'd look at Dallas, they'd be ranked like 12th. And hold on a second, their resume is losing to the Eagles and beating the Giants in overtime at home. Why are they? What's going on here? Like, I understand the Bears' situation has been bad, but Dallas, I mean, this is the greatest, worst 1-1 performance I've ever seen. It's such a fascinating one. Chicago is at home. It's a buy lows, buy low. They lose by 30. There's the revenge angle of Matt Eberflus is the defensive coordinator now, my goodness, for the Dallas Cowboys. It's just such a step up, get right, make it happen spot. I know this game will feature for you in the crunch. It'll feature for me as well. That's fine. I'll repeat myself. I went through this menu, again and again. What's the bet? What's the bet? And I know it's going to sound ridiculous, but Donnie, this is the bet.
Go ahead.
Caleb Williams, no interception.
Oh.
Caleb Williams, no interception. Caleb was picked off last week, okay? That is the third interception he has thrown since week 3 of last regular season.
You only had 6 total last year, right?
So last year, he threw 2 interceptions week 2, 2 interceptions in week 3, and then only 2 more the rest of the year. Obviously, those didn't happen in consecutive weeks again. Caleb Williams protects the football. I know that 2nd and 32 play went viral. At some point, though, is anybody going to be like, why are they in 2nd and 32?
Yeah.
Also, look at the score. They're down a gazillion. Like, I don't think that play mattered as much as everybody wanted it to. He doesn't turn the football over. And Dallas, Donnie, Jalen Hurts, I mean, could have made a sandwich and dessert back there against this team, these soft zones. And Russ gifted them that late interception. It didn't even happen, obviously, within the full 4 quarters. I am betting Caleb to not be picked off in this game against Dallas.
Yeah, and I'm betting Caleb at least to get probably 2 touchdowns in this game individually, no, but also we'll talk about how many touchdowns total in this game a little bit later in the show.
What about the wide receivers then, Don?
Oh, it's Rome Odunze all day. Like, I'm not saying...
Don't overthink this one.
Don't overthink it. You said, he got 2 touchdowns last week, maybe he's not. No, that is the number 1 go-to wide receiver for them. A Dallas Cowboys team that can't stop wide receivers. Did you see Malik Neighbors last week? I'm not saying Rome Odunze is Malik Neighbors, but that same sort of game plan there. And also, if we're looking from everybody's going to love CeeDee Lamb. You know me, I love secondary options.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean I'm going to go for Rome Odunze. But looking at the Dallas Cowboys, George Pickens is scoring a touchdown today. You got to honestly, Kevin, I'm expecting 4+ touchdown passes in this game. So who's getting them? Like Javonte Smith or Javonte Williams? Excuse me. No, he's not getting them at this point right now. You know what I mean? Just keep it simple.
I struggle a little bit with how much it's clearly been Rome Odunze versus DJ Moore, like a balance of it. Only because
where's Loveland? Is he alive? They're going to try. Is he already going to get cut?
But this is the problem with, I mean, I know that this isn't for that team to draft Loveland over Tyler Warren, for Warren to be everything that he is for the Colts, and for the Bears to be like, for the reason you would be like, hey, hold off on judgment. The Bears have Cole Kmet. They're using 2. Why would you draft Colston Loveland then? I mean, seriously. Why not get one of those, power star edge rushers out of Georgia that were available in the draft? Like, you could have poured. This team just kept going over the top again and again, trying to one up this offense with weapons, and they went redundant at tight end with not the best tight end in the class.
Which actually had me even a little bit more excited. Ben Johnson's a mad scientist. He knows something I don't know, where every time I watch Warren, he popped off the screen like, you can't stop this guy. Yeah. He's the best tight end. But, Ben Johnson sees somebody in Loveland, which meant I thought maybe he'd be a feature guy the first 2. Invisible in the football
field. And I like Loveland. I think he's a talented football player, Donnie. But these are the comparisons that will get made. And I know it's like, you're overreacting to 2 weeks. It felt like a bit of a mistake in real time.
By the way, is Ben Johnson the type of coach that's like, after 3 weeks they're 0-3, just let me out of the contract? I just went out of this contract. I'm going to go back to being an OC.
I don't.
His opening day press conference till now, you're watching it through, he's visibly frustrated. And if it doesn't go well today...
We'll highlight this one in Crunch. It's next. you're in the Super Bowl market, if you're in the futures market, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is heavily connected to the Kansas City Chiefs. I am sure it would be Tyreek's first place if he could pick to go back to. At least I would think it would be. And the Chiefs have a need, and the Chiefs are interested, and they're not worried about any of his other question marks.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
51-0, Donnie.
Yeah.
Those numbers don't lie. Georgia, every time they rush for over 200 yards, that's dating back from 2017 against FCS and FBS opponents. They don't lose. The 2 years that they won back-to-back national championships, year one, they rushed for over 208 times. Year two, when they beat TCU, that year they rushed for over 206 times.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look at the weather, try to look for some anytime touchdowns or maybe some props that you really feel confident about. But it's always the time for urgency, especially for a team like the New York Giants. I think that defense is something that can give Giants fans hope. And then if you get Dart under center, it's hope. And then if you can get Scatterboo out there and the whole building's going boo, it's hope. And as we know, hope works.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Live with you right here. We are on SportsGrid, and it is that time for your Sunday morning crunch. All right, crunch time here this morning. And I mean, how could you not? It's your favorite song. I know it. Let's do this, Donnie. Let's just go back and forth to put these officially on the board.
Yes.
What you have from Bears-Cowboys involved in your Sunday morning crunch.
And actually, it's funny. Usually I like to separate the games here, but I actually like this game so much. Like in the Windy City, Chicago in December, maybe it's a little bit different, but for me, no. Today, I'm just going to look at this game and say, Donnie, keep it simple. These two defenses stink. These two offenses can cook. These two offenses should be coming in hot enough to throw at least 4 total touchdown passes. And here's where I like it, too. It's a Bet365 bet for me, Kevin, where if somebody does get injured at quarterback, it doesn't kill your bet, and I love that. Backup quarterback comes in, still sling it. And you know what, East? Oh, look at this. A Rome Odunze double reverse pass touchdown. No! Yes, absolutely. It counts as a touchdown pass. I just don't see any way, shape, or form, Kevin, which, again, this is always the broken record, and you can clip this. We're not running the football in the end zone multiple times. Like, we are getting big play strikes from these two offenses here, putting their quarterbacks not in harm's way, but to succeed against two defenses that are vulnerable. I'll start with that. Over 3.5 touchdown passes in the Bears game. That's at a plus 100 price. 4 touchdown passes. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all. I think these are two quarterbacks, Donnie, who will be looking to put those numbers up on the board. As I said before, I'm taking Caleb Williams to not throw an interception. This will be a horrific watch, I promise you. Try not to watch the game through the lens of this because every pass attempt will come with a little bit of worry. But Caleb Williams rarely throws interceptions. Threw one last week. I'm going to bet that he doesn't do it again. You're sticking in this game, Donnie, for your second piece of the crunch.
Again, there's 4 touchdown passes. Backup tight ends aren't catching these touchdown passes. You know who you need to get involved with. Multiple jump balls in the red zone to who? George Pickens. Donnie, why don't you go CeeDee Lamb? Yes, I think CeeDee Lamb's going to score a touchdown. But this seems like the perfect spot where we're going to double down on CeeDee Lamb and not let us beat us. So you know what that means, Kevin. One-on-one coverage on the outside to one of the best playmakers when the ball is in the air and it's one-on-one play. George Pickens, anytime touchdown market today, Kevin, priced that at a plus 158.
Is that one of those spots, Donnie, where, though, you would love the opportunity, even just like, I'll play Lamb and Pickens here kind of situation? Like
exactly. If they're both plus money, which I did, by the way, Thursday Night Football was fantastic with Tyreek Hill and certainly Jalen Waddle. But you're right about that. If there's multiple touchdown passes, at least one of those two guys will catch when I'm going with Pickens today.
The wide receiver, Donnie, that made my card is actually Mike Evans. Emeka Egbuka banged up. I think that matters. Still no Chris Godwin. I think that matters. Yep. But Mike Evans is also clearly in line for some super positive regression. So far, he's 10 of 19, 10 receptions, 19 targets. Yep. Mike Evans is usually bringing in around 67, 68% of his targets. And it's also yards per reception, right? We're at 10.7 this year. This guy usually 13, 14. Yep. I think there could be some explosives. I think there's still going to be a great workload for him. And the Jets defense just doesn't scare as much as it used to.
He's going to beat Sauce up
I'm
today?
on Mike Evans, Donnie, over the 66.5. Baker's built a little different. He's like, hold on, who's your only good corner? Sauce? He's guarding Mike? Awesome. Here's 12 targets, brother.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also not the same game plan. He comes from the game, hey, buddy, man. Yeah, Sauce is on you. I'm going to go to the other side. Like, no, that's like, no, I'm going to eat this guy. You're going to give me the football. I agree.
Yeah. Tell me then, you have a defensive prop closing this out.
I'll tell you, in hour number 2, we're going to talk about this game because I think it's the most fascinating game when really it shouldn't be, and that's the defensive pass rush for the Green Bay Packers. There's 2 ways you can play this. Joe Flacco is a statue. He's not going to get away from one of the best pass rushers in football, which is Micah Parsons. Yeah. Which brings me to this, Kevin. How many times do you see this? Double team on Micah Parsons. He almost gets Joe Flacco, which forces him into another defender's waiting arms here. Did you know Micah Parsons is a minus 200 to get an anytime sack today? I can't pay that price, even though I think he gets it. Rashawn Gary, a sack in both of the first 2 games because why? Micah Parsons is basically hurting the quarterback right to him. He gets a sack today, minus 115. I love it. And by the way, make sure you're shopping around with these books. Not a full sack. You go to team got like 365. Yeah. Just get a half a sack. Cash that ticket.
There's a special out there. You knew it was going to be available somewhere, Donnie, which is Parsons and Garrett to combine for 3 sacks at plus 250. The reality is you're actually kind of better off like playing each guy for 2 or something like that and just kind of seeing if you can
they each get 1.5 sacks. Like, oh, no!
I mean, I guess it is possible, which would be tough. But I opted for this Saquon Barkley prop that we talked about over the longest rush at 18.5. Saquon last week, actually, over the 87.5 was nearly a heartbreaker and turned into a hero story. He gets to 88, right? They ended up, because it was 2nd and 1 instead of, 2nd and 2, it was tush-push city type of thing, and Barkley just gets there. And Barkley has just been getting there. Doesn't have a 100-yard game yet. Doesn't have a run of 20-plus. I think if one happens, it comes with the other. I'm going to bet Barkley for an explosive run today over the 18.5. Did not go consecutive weeks without this last year. Hasn't had one yet this season. We turned it over to the quarterbacks. Backups. Who do we trust next? If you're in the Super Bowl market, if you're in the futures market, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is heavily connected to the Kansas City Chiefs. I am sure it would be Tyreek's first place if he could pick to go back to. At least I would think it would be. And the Chiefs have a need, and the Chiefs are interested, and they're not worried about any of his other question marks.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
51-0, Donnie.
Yeah.
Those numbers don't lie. Georgia, every time they rush for over 200 yards, that's dating back from 2017 against FCS and FBS opponents. They don't lose. The 2 years that they won back-to-back national championships, year 1, they rushed for over 208 times. Year 2, when they beat TCU, that year they rushed for over 206 times.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look at the weather, try to look for some anytime touchdowns or maybe some props that you really feel confident about. But it's always the time for urgency, especially for a team like the New York Giants. I think that defense is something that can give Giants fans hope. And then if you get Dart under center, it's hope. And then if you can get Scatterboo out there and the whole building's going boo, it's hope. And as we know, hope works.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.